Paul Watson wrote a story Monday concerning this latest bin Laden tape. Now, others in the past have been proven to be fake. The Intel Center is run by Rumsfeld's former deputy, an expert in psychological operations. It has some other top CIA personnel working there publicly who have been involved in psychological operations as well. I mean, this isn't just some normal CIA person. This is black ops. They've been caught uploading Intel Center video with the audio before with the Intel Center logo in the same video layer as the Al-Qaeda logo. Well, supposedly Intel Center should load theirs in later unless they produced it. The graphics were produced at the same time, laid on the video at the same time. Also, voice print's been done of all these different bin Laden tapes. It's not bin Laden when they check it with real bin Laden tapes. They just make a voice key, a voice ID with it. It doesn't pass. Then they've had linguists listen. It's not Osama bin Laden. So I wanted to get him on about that subject. Paul Watson joining us from prisonplanet.com. Good to have you on with us, Paul.
Good to be back, Alex.
Okay, break down some of the history of this and some of the other fake tapes, and let's look at this newest tape.
Well, there's so many aspects to this, Alex, but the key thing about it historically is that the emergence of bin Laden tapes or Al-Qaeda tapes or Adam Perlman tapes or al-Zawahiri tapes repeatedly, and I mean in every single case basically, their release coincides with watershed moments either politically in relation to Iraq, Afghanistan, or the U.S. presidential election, or watershed moments in the progression of the 9/11 truth movement. Now, on the latter, in May 2006, there was a major Zogby poll that got released that said over half of Americans think that 9/11 is a cover-up. Days after that poll came out and 9/11 truth was pushed to the forefront of national media attention, a bin Laden tape was released, and in that tape he reinforced the myth that he had carried out 9/11, despite the fact that in the first 4 video and audio tapes after 9/11, Osama bin Laden, repeatedly said that he had nothing to do with 9/11. And it was only after December 2001, which is coincidentally when the foremost bin Laden experts in the US reckon that he actually died. It was only after that time that the infamous Fat bin Laden tape came out where he supposedly took the blame for 9/11, and then in the subsequent video and audio tapes after that, he took the blame as well. So obviously now you have Charlie Sheen last week coming out and pushing 9/11 truth back to the forefront of national public attention, and lo and behold, a new bin Laden tape gets released. So from that perspective, it does have ties to progression within the 9/11 truth movement is normally followed by the establishment attempting to reinforce the official story by having bin Laden or al-Zawahiri come out and reinforce the official story that Al-Qaeda carried out the attack. But even more strongly is the historical track record of these videotapes coming out immediately around the time that either the Bush or now the Obama administration need some cover, need some support for their failing agenda, both in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, probably the most infamous example was right before the invasion of Iraq, when Colin Powell was making his infamous presentation to the UN. Powell referenced the fact that an audio tape would soon be released in which bin Laden claimed he was allied with Saddam Hussein, and that this tape would be broadcast shortly afterwards. Now, to anyone who has even a basic knowledge of geopolitics or religion regarding bin Laden and Saddam Hussein will know that those two are sworn enemies. They always were, and to have an alliance would be like, Ahmadinejad and Bush having an alliance. It would be completely out of the question. But Powell forecast that a tape would be released that proved a bin Laden link to Iraq, and lo and behold, it was, and that was a key. It was a key piece of evidence that Bush cited as a reason to invade Iraq. Most of your readers will remember right before the 2004 election, the October surprise. Bin Laden appeared right on cue when Kerry was leading Bush by a few percentage points and looked like he was going to edge the election. Bin Laden appeared to attack Bush on October 29th, and a few days later, Bush won the election. And later, both Bush and Kerry attributed Bush's victory to the appearance of that bin Laden tape in late October of 2004. And even Walter Cronkite, the veteran news reporter, said it stank to high heaven and it looked like a Karl Rove orchestrated setup. So then you've got other examples where these tapes emerge at the most politically opportune moments for the government. On two separate occasions for 2 years running, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the number 2 to bin Laden, so-called deputy leader of al-Qaeda, came out on the eve of the State of the Union speech in January 2006 and then again in January 2007. And in 2007, the big debate was about the Iraq surge, when Bush wanted to send 100,000 more troops into Iraq, and it was getting a lot of opposition. Right before the State of the Union, al-Zawahiri came out and attacked the proposal, saying it would never work, and that gave Bush, it greased the skids for him to ram through the proposal. And in fact, in that State of the Union speech in 2007, Bush cited al-Zawahiri's videotaped speech as a reason that people should support the surge policy in Iraq. So now we fast forward to today with this release of the supposed bin Laden tape yesterday, and it arrives on the back of the deadliest month ever for US forces in Afghanistan since the invasion. 46 dead, 46 US troops dead in August, and September is going to rival that, which is the highest monthly toll of the entire conflict. It also arrives on the back of a CNN public opinion poll, as well as others, that show that, quote, opposition to the war in Afghanistan is at an all-time high. And this is also following up the obviously rigged election where the US puppet Hamid Karzai, the former Unicol executive, has been returned to power on the back of his supporters setting up fake polling stations and creating fake ballots that returned him to power. So you've got this massive opposition to what's happening in Afghanistan as Obama plans to extend that war, as well as the war in Pakistan. You have top generals in the UK and the US criticizing the policy in Afghanistan. And lo and behold, Osama bin Laden pops up again out of nowhere on this audio tape and says that Barack Obama is, quote, powerless to halt the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which, as I wrote in the article, seems a pretty odd statement to make in light of the fact that Obama has only extended and aggressively beefed the campaigns in Afghanistan and Iraq. The withdrawal in Iraq was a mirage. He moved some troops out of the inner cities and just moved them out to the edges of the cities. And as you've talked about, Alex, 50,000 contractors were sent back in again.
Okay, absolutely. And we're talking to Paul Watson about his article, CIA-linked Intel Center releases highly suspicious bin Laden tape. We now have more of these fake New York raids where they admit, oh, these are preemptive, we had no evidence. Turned out Cheney did those earlier and wanted to charge the guys under military courts, they were U.S. citizens, to set the precedent to use the military against the general public. Under Bush and now under Obama, they've issued DHS reports listing that Homeland Security is for conservatives, gun owners, libertarians, Ron Paul supporters, anti-Federal Reserve people. So this whole police state is for us, not for al-Qaeda. Even if you believe al-Qaeda, admittedly CIA created, attacked us on 9/11, you can clearly see that the whole Homeland Security apparatus is being used against we the people.